Today I'm going to work on a frittata, a broccoli and potato frittata, and this is going to be something that you can use you can do a lot of it ahead so that you could have it ready for a brunch without spending hours getting it ready. It's not quite as convenient as those that you put together and put in the refrigerator and bake when you get up, but it doesn't take as long to bake either. So the time should come out about the same. I've got 8 large eggs, and to that I'm adding a half a cup of fat-free milk, or you can go up a little bit to 1 or 2%. But we're going to have some cheese and other things in here that are going to increase the fat content. So you probably want to stick with it fairly low. Now, also getting it ready a little bit ahead, this is something that you could do ahead the night before to speed up the process. In here I have a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, 1 cup of sliced onions, which is about a half of a medium to large onion, half of a cup of red bell pepper, which is again about a half of a red bell pepper, 1/4 of a cup of finely chopped celery, and a clove of garlic. And those I've just sauteed until they are soft, but I didn't want them to get brown. Now, these are still a little bit warm, and I don't want to cook the egg mixture that I've got here, so I'm going to take a little bit of this and stir it in and basically temper the eggs so that the eggs don't cook at this point. We'll just stir those together a little bit, and we'll let those kind of warm the egg mixture up. And while that's taking place, I'm going to add to this 1/4 of a teaspoon of dried basil leaves, 1/4 of a teaspoon of dried thyme, a half a teaspoon of seasoned salt. And here you can use the low sodium versions of that. There are a lot of products out there. And also a half a teaspoon of pepper. And stir those together fairly well. Again, remember, part of the reason we're doing it this way is so that we get those eggs tempered just a little bit. Now I'm going to stir in 1 1/2 cups of broccoli. And again, this is something you can do ahead. This is steamed or cooked just until it's crisp tender. So you can cook that the night before or even a day or two ahead so that it's going to be ready for you. Now to that, we're going to add the rest of this mixture that we have sauteed. Let me get a different utensil here to get all these wonderful little garlic pieces out. Now if you have a pan that you want to use that's a nonstick pan and you want to cut down on the amount of fat even more, you can use that instead of adding any oil to this at all, and that will cut the fat back a little bit more. All right, we have this great mixture here. Now, notice that the recipe was a broccoli potato frittata, and I didn't want to stir in the potato earlier on because it would tend to break up the pieces. Again, the potato is also cooked ahead of time. So we're going to pour this into a 2-quart casserole that's been sprayed with a nonstick vegetable spray, and then we'll cover that with the potatoes. Now, it was 1 1/2 cups of potato. You want to use a kind of potato that you can slice fairly easily that will hold its shape. So red potatoes work very well. I'm using a Yukon potato. You don't have to lay these in really, really well, but you do want to get them fairly well distributed. I'm going to try and press them down a little bit here in a minute so that they actually will go under some of the egg. But you can see that a lot of the effort for this would be done ahead of time. Probably would not put it all the way together until the time shortly before I'm going to cook it, but most of the effort goes before you even have to worry about it on the morning or the evening or the afternoon. A lot of this could also be a good evening dish. Now I'm going to top that with 3/4 of a cup of sharp Parmesan cheese. The original recipe called for a full cup of medium or mild cheddar. And this is one of the easy tricks for cutting back the fat. You cut back, you change to a sharper cheese, which allows you to cut it by at least 1/4 and often more than that. But because it's sharper, it has more flavor. Also has a little bit more fat, so you don't get a complete cut on the fat, but it does cut it down substantially. Now over the top of that, I'm adding 1/3 cup of Parmesan cheese. And again, I've cut back on the amount that the recipe originally called for. It was originally 1/2 cup. Just get that over the top. And this is going to go in a 425-degree oven for 20 minutes, or until the center is set. You want to take a knife and insert it in the center to make sure that the egg is completely set so that nobody has raw egg, which would be a food safety hazard as well. But just make sure that it's set. When the knife is pushed in, it comes out clean. Give or take a little cheese that may be sticking to it. That's okay. 425 for about 20 minutes. remember that you're going to use a knife to check, and if your knife comes out fairly clean, then you're ready to go. Then let it sit for 5 minutes because it does need to cool down a little bit, and also that helps it solidify. Now this makes about 6 servings. You can see it's still a little soft in the center. We could have left it a little bit longer. And then scoop it out here. And then you can see all the colors that come out of this, all the reds and the greens. Add a little bit of tomato or carrots or something on the side and have some crunchy bread with that. And this makes a wonderful brunch. Also, don't forget some nice juice to go with it too. And for many of you, although not myself, a good cup of coffee. For Oklahoma Gardening, this is Barbara Brown.